You always felt there was more you could have done. Now, that could have shown up in your life in many different ways. My earliest memory is when I was in school and I had to take an exam. And I just wish that there were more time that I would have had to be able to really complete that exam and do really well on it. And but then I had another chance when it came around again because I had to take more exams, and then I started to learn. Wait a minute, I learned so much before the other exam, so maybe I know more now. But then if I'm not going to use what I know now, I'm going to always feel there is more I could have done. And that's probably how you're feeling now in your life. And you might be wondering what's happening in your life or what's happening in our world, but that's because you are here to do more and you haven't done it yet. We all are in this process of evolution, but I'm going to talk about it a little bit more today. I had a full moon channeling session with Wilhelm yesterday, and it was called Choose the Life You Want to Have, because that's what you're doing. You're always doing that, but it might have felt really challenging over the last several years for you, and you haven't understood what was occurring, but I'm going to give you a little more information about that now, because I'm going to stop feeling like there was more I could have done and start doing it. Because that's what happens. When you're feeling like there's more you could have done, it's true. You're just not taking the next step on your path, on your evolutionary journey to become the person you're meant to become. That's all. And it doesn't matter who you are, what you've accomplished, or where you are in your life, because it's never done as long as you're alive. Because there's always more that you can do. Because the only place that it occurs is in your consciousness. And that's the thing that we have difficulty with. Accepting that we are all navigating through our lives by using our consciousness or how we think or perceive anything. And sometimes that can also make it challenging, as it did for me, but it's going to help you today because I know where you are. I know what you're feeling. I know what you've been going through, and I also know that it's a good thing because you're on the planet now, because you have something wonderful within you that's meant to be developed and given to the world, and that will cause things to change. And I'm going to explain to you why I know that is true. And the only reason that you don't know that it's true is that you haven't taken the next step into discovering who you are. That's all. It's an ongoing process that we each move through. But this is it's a little presentation I did. I just put together a few messages that I want you to understand, because part of this is what came through in the Wilhelm channeling session yesterday, which is on my YouTube channel. I'd love for you to have that, and so you'll see that at the end as well. You always felt you could have done more. This message came through, as you can see, November 16th of 2020. And I'm going to read all of it, but then I'll explain to you the context of it. But I received information that is aligned with dates. There is an alignment in the universe that we all come to understand, but the way that Wilhelm has given me messages is in consistent dates. November 16th, 2020. You always felt you could have done more. That sentence is accurate for every single person unless, of course, you choose to remain in denial. The current condition of your world will make that difficult to do. Each of you is facing some feelings of hopelessness, fear, uncertainty, and even anger. All of them were ordered by you to show up in your life at this time to aid your evolution and contribute in a meaningful way to the restructuring of your world. Now, the feeling you could have done more is either a very conscious awareness of this lifetime or a previous lifetime of which you have no understanding. As usual, it doesn't matter if you believe that, but it would be helpful for you to attempt. Our following story may help you. For quite some time, we have said that Roger struggled to allow information from us to come through. You have done that because usually it doesn't make sense to you what you might be hearing or feeling, but again, nothing is accidental. When you begin to embrace that concept, you come to know more of who you are. Yesterday, we specifically told Roger to take the day off. Yes, he has gotten to the point that he follows his intuition. You will begin to do more of that, and these current times are helping you. We then led Roger to a documentary that we will even name here for those of you who feel inclined will search for it, and it will help you understand what you see currently in your life and the world. It is entitled Love Wins Over Hate. Roger cannot tell you how he stumbled upon it, but it further informed what Roger felt his work to do. He also thought he could have done more before, and he is correct, as are you. We mean you are in an eternal state of evolution, so there is always more you can do, and you might decide that is true now because the pandemic you planned is bringing it to your awareness. Yes, we are using phrases and ideas that will cause you to recognize your importance in this world. Then we led Roger to a video about autism that magically provided Roger with information for a client and informed the info he knew intuitively, but did not trust, as you have done in your life. Roger got wind of the conditions in your world today and felt a bit of guilt, as he knew from us what to expect and feels his role as a teacher, but did not find the way to deliver information that would have helped more. The guilt is entirely pointless and non-productive, but the awareness will now cause him to make more significant impact. You are doing the same thing, and even though it may be uncomfortable for you now, you will come to appreciate moving through this time, and you will do more, and you will be fine. Now, at the Wilhelm channeling session yesterday, they said that they had given us messages that would follow through, and they just said, just go through November of 2023 on any advice for today, and you can follow along, because they gave me information that was aligned to the energetic changes of our world, and this is why they relate to everyone, and people find their meaning in these in something that we just couldn't explain. But this is the one for tomorrow that said we would be really understanding now, because I'm doing this on the 16th, tomorrow the 17th. Change must come through you. It will never be with anger, hatred, or judgment, but only through love. You come to the physical plane with a blueprint for your expansion and to add to the evolvement of your world. You exist now to facilitate that change, but you must be willing to let go of what was old, and most of it is generational. But you wanted to make that change, and you do so when you love yourself and recognize your importance. Please review some of what we provided a year ago on this date, and as you decide to change, so will your world. So we're going back a year, November 17th, 2022. You could change your life and the world today. We know most of you will find it challenging to accept that statement. And as you do, we would like you to ask yourself why. You each are born with equal talent, ability, and a unique gift. And if you were to actualize it, you could have as much or more influence than anyone else you might witness in your world now. Your only challenge has been total acceptance of your authentic self. We reminded Roger of this fact last night and this morning, and he too has difficulty with acceptance. For it is something you each come to in your time and in your manner that serves your evolutionary goal and that of your world, for as we have said, they are the same. What Roger heard this morning was a reference to what we have provided all these years, the divine plan for humanity. You exist at a time in your world that we have called a restructuring, so you can choose what you want your life and society to manifest in your future. You do that by acknowledging who you are and owning your gift. Wilhelm. And then I'm putting this in because there's so many things, and you'll hear a lot of this in the channeling session. We can accomplish anything, and sometimes we hold back, and I've done that. I'm 74, and the other day I got this test result, and I'm just going to share this. There's so many others because the doctors can't even explain how this happened, but I do know how it happened because it's all mind-body healing. I'm just going to give you this little piece because I'm going to be putting all of this basically in a documentary, and as I finish all of this work, putting it into the program. But this aspect of it was in 1990, I found out I was HIV positive, and then for years I didn't need medication, but then I let my life fall apart. And so all of a sudden the doctor says, you have AIDS, because I had to get down to like less than 250 T cells that I had at that time. And they said, okay, well, I guess I have to change that. And so now they can't figure out how this happened, because that's the current number, 4,740, and the range is only supposed to go up to 3,900. And on Thursday, I'm having a meeting with my doctor, and he says, wow. I'm just throwing that in because I want you to know that anything is possible. We're always figuring out more of human potential. And that's what Wilhelm said my work was. That's what I was here to do, to bring together science, spirituality, and human potential. We each are here to do something, and then we give that to others. That's how evolution happens. And so that is why I have your last development program, and you can click that and go to the website. But what I'm going to do is put this link in this in the description, because I want you to have this. It will give you a lot more understanding. Self-acceptance is your only challenge. It's the same for all of us because we have different life paths we're meant to live, and when we can't accept that we don't live the lives we're meant to have and we don't contribute to others, and sometimes it's challenging, as it was for me, but it was also purposeful because I couldn't accept any of this for years and years and years because of all the what others would think or the judgment. And all the messages that I've received have been about this time in our world moving through this great change. And the more of us who do that, we heal and we become who we're meant to be, and we pass that on to future generations. So when I'm going to tell you this really short story of how this occurred. I started receiving Wilhelm in 1989. And I wasn't going to tell anyone. I wrote it down every single day. I did not know why I was saving them, but I just knew that I was meant to. Yes, I did trust my intuition, but didn't know why. And still, it was uncomfortable, and I was never going to tell anyone why I was doing that, even my family and friends, because they really didn't understand. And most times, your people closest to you don't get it. When you're moving into a greater understanding of yourself, you have an individual journey, and so others around you may not get that, and that's okay, as long as you do, because that's the most important thing in your life, is to start to own who you are, because that's why you were born. So in all those years that I'm doing this, I wasn't going to show anyone this information, but other people started finding it. And then someone convinced me to do a website. That's how Any Advice for Today got built. I wasn't going to do it. I was doing another business. Then in 2017, I knew I had to change. And so I sold the business so I could go broke, because a lot of times we get stuck when we're just hanging on to money, when you know that there's something else you're meant to do and you can't get out of it, because we've been programmed that way. So I had to let go of it. And it was a struggle, and it was really difficult. And then in 2020, I knew the world was changing because I started receiving information about restructuring. And I knew it would be in the United States, and I also understand why. Because of the energetic changes and the ideologies and configuration of the United States, but also the entire globe. And I started doing the Wilhelm channeling sessions in 2021, not because I wanted to, because it was uncomfortable, but Wilhelm said you have to, because we have a lot to say. And what they were revealing to me is that they had given me an entire philosophy that anyone who uses it, they would change their lives, transform, and then become these great people and pass that on to others, and we'd have a very different world. And so yes, I couldn't accept that I was given something that could actually change the world, but I know that it does. It just make logical sense. If I could go through everything that I've done in my life, because when I was born there was something wrong. They didn't even know what it was. Something with my skin, so they couldn't even allow my mother to breastfeed me because they had to figure it out. And I went through every illness, disease, horrible thing, uh, and with this work I moved through it. Now I'm telling you, I didn't start this until 89. I had already gone through all kinds of horrible things before that, and more since I started doing it. And then what happened was, at a certain point, everything shifted, because it's in your consciousness. You have an alignment. And when you get in alignment with who you are, your divine plan, and I can say that I know you have it because I was given a message on your birthday. That seemed so ridiculous when it first came to me, the first information that came to me, and I was reluctant to try it. And then I started trying it, and it was freaky. I had people cry because they said, "Yes, that's me. You have a unique plan. You came to the world at the right time to do something, and it's showing up for you now. And if you do it, you help your life, but you also help the world, because you will become happy. You will heal in ways generationally. You will do all of that stuff. And you will then live the life that you were meant to have." And that is why I have changed things in all of my work. And when I changed, my instruction was to change my program, even to your last development program, because you wouldn't need anything else. That's why I'm putting it all in there now. The other thing, being totally transparent here, the people who have done this work, um, and you hear the testimonials and how they have just like couldn't believe what was happening for them. I gave them a portion. I gave them 31 days. I have 35 years of mindset, self-actualization, ascension tools that are in this work, and in mind-body healing. That's what I'm putting in now, because I have to take the next step. That's what that message was for tomorrow. Are you going to stay where you are and keep suffering? Because the only time we suffer is when we are unwilling to move. And the planets are going to keep moving. The world's going to keep changing. Now, let's talk about the United States and the election, because that's all the information that Wilhelm had given me all of this time. The United States had set itself up to be this place for have equality and freedom for all. And then we're looking at it, so, well, wait a minute, only some people. That's not how evolution happens. And we're always in this quest as humans, moving to oneness. And that could be a concept that most people won't really understand or accept. But you have to think, what would make any human better or more or less than another? Nothing except consciousness. The only thing we change as we live within ourselves is our consciousness. When we start to understand that every soul matters, and that's what I started to see. And I told you this before, but people wouldn't have understood it then. But on my website, you can see all the articles that I've written. But I just want you to understand this, because you will not believe yourself about something. That's just what happens. It's in that unknown of you. So it's hard. It's difficult. And some of us, I was meant to bring in different work. I was meant to bring in a philosophy. So that's what I had. That's what I lived. But still, trusting and believing it was a challenge. Even though I had the results, and even though things were changing. But what we have is this disbelief and fear of what others are going to think. That's all that goes on. So I want you to know that where you are right now is this place where you're meant to love yourself. You're meant to be happy, successful, prosperous, in love, in whatever way that is. And the only reason you're not doing it is because you're unwilling to embrace your authentic self and take that journey. And I can say that because I did it. I know. I understand. And when I say to people, there's nothing you can give me that I couldn't give you an answer for. And if you listen to the Wilhelm session from yesterday, I'll put a link in this video, but they're all on my YouTube channel. But if you listen to that and people are asking questions, I can answer any question. And I don't remember any of it because I'm in a different dimension. And that's what is there. We have different dimensions of consciousness, and when you can understand that about yourself, you'll start to understand it about others, and you'll also start to understand it about our world, and you won't get as freaked out. You'll decide that your job then is to raise your consciousness and become who you're meant to be, because every single person is meant to become something wonderful. That I know. I've never met a single person who did not have that within them. I've only met people who were unwilling to move there and couldn't believe themselves because of all the prior programming. But I also know you can change that because that's what I had to do. Thank you so much for being here. Please share this with others. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done that. And you deserve to live a great life, and you can have it if you recognize what you haven't done yet. That's all.